Yeah, it's good evening, everybody, and thank you, Jill, for the introduction. I was watching this rally online very closely because I actually do read the comments, unlike many of our political leaders, and the people wanted this to go ahead. I was silent, for about 15 days, and then my mate, who was one of the organisers, he just sent me the message, "Hey mate, how you doing?" And I answered straight away, "Don't worry, dude, I have a video coming," because I was going to get behind him, and I'd had coffee with him. I knew he was a genuine bloke who just loved the nation, wanted to preserve what we all love and the dream that we all knew that can be possible here. But yeah, as Jill said, I'll take you through, I guess, my perspective and a lot of what I did say on the day. Largest crowd I ever spoke to. The police say it was 40 to 50,000 in Brisbane alone, which was phenomenal. My mate called the other day, "Lachlan, there's about 400 here, about 10 o'clock. And we're like, already that's more than we expected. But as I said on the day, all of us, most certainly me, are just ordinary Australians. I'm just a farm boy who puts in the effort, who turns up and does the best I can. I'm nothing special. And this is our only home. For all of us now, this country, this sunburnt country, is our only home. And moments like we did see on August 31st, when a nation rises organically to speak to a political class that has long stopped listening, those moments are incredibly rare. And leadership is not taking offense at comments or feeling insulted when the truth is spoken. Leadership is listening, maybe reading those comments, understanding and acting on the needs of the people, no matter how unpopular it might be. You see, Australia is more than just a location on a map. It has been forged by a people into its own unique nation. And that's what we need to really understand. It was a nation primarily built by Anglo-Celtic settlers who were obviously of mostly British and Irish descent. And they brought with them a language, they brought with them law, architecture, and together that gave birth to a new way of life. And behind that was thousands of years of Western civilization. Now, over those generations of when they first arrived, myself, I am an 8th generation Australian, well, something distinct was born here. A new people, a new culture, and a new way of life. So an Australian in this context is someone shaped by the values of the environment, of the language that we all speak, of the traditions of this land, who live by the ethos of mateship, fairness, hard work, and resilience. You see, languages develop culture, and we have our own language here, plain spoken, direct, yet light-hearted, like the character many of us should be. We don't take ourselves too seriously. So yes, now, clearly, we are people from many shores. And those like Debu who came here, they came here for the right reasons. They did not come here to replace, to demand, or to take. They came here to belong. They came here to build a shared future in peace, far from the conflicts of the old world, because we are a very young nation, a peaceful nation. And most importantly, migrants like Debu, they came here to assimilate, to be one in our community and take on the values and the culture that established our nation. Immigration during our founding years, as I said, they joined our communities, they learnt our ways, but mass immigration, it does not support this integral aspect of nation building. People come here, sign a document, and live by their old customs with their own people. There is no forced assimilation, there's no forced adoption. That may seem harsh, but we'll get there. So, as a result, what do we see these days? We see flags of every nation flying proud except our own. Well, our flag is treated with shame, and we are told that we're on stolen land, that we are illegitimate, that we must stay silent. And when we did raise the Australian flag, well, weren't we met with condemnation? And how cowardly our leaders were, with many of their media spokespersons telling us not to take part, that we should be silent, that we shouldn't speak on these immense issues affecting everybody. Because we might get called names. Because they'll make us guilty through association. It was nothing but intimidation, because that is all the political establishment has left, and it was quite the failure. Queensland rallied. From Cairns, Townsville, Mackay, Gladstone, Hervey Bay, Brisbane, I think we did our state incredibly proud. And so this is what they feared most. When on August 31st, normal everyday Australians rose to the occasion. No matter our origin, we stood together in defence of a nation we all call our home. We are the silent majority, I said. We are once again the forgotten men and women of this land. Now we know our government has failed us. They've opened the gates without thought or care, while Australians here are already struggling to make ends meet. There are now 125,000 Australians homeless across the nation. Housing is unaffordable. Young families are shut out. Hospitals and schools are overwhelmed. GDP growth is praised, yet on a GDP per capita, we've been in recession for many months now. And our standard of living is falling faster than anywhere else in the Western world. Basic economics, supply and demand. Every individual competes, whether that be for appointments, for health, for leisure, for security, for homes, for food. We all have to compete. And so what is the result of this competition between ourselves? Brisbane is now ranked the 10th most congested city in the world. But Tokyo, a population of 37 million, more than our nation, is not even in the top 20. I saw it was 28. Go figure. Where are the priorities? 32% of households in this nation, 8 to 9 million people, face food from moderate to severe insecurity. And 4 of our capital cities are among within the top 10 most expensive properties globally. Australians cannot afford a roof over their head. And when there are no homes, there are no families. And when there are no families, that means there are no children to inherit this nation when we are gone, and that means there is no future. And our population is already in decline. Our infrastructure is crumbling, and what does sadden me is in my hometown, a rural town, Proserpine, the fanciest, most well-maintained building is the Government Council Chambers. Everything else is forgotten, decaying, left, abandoned. We can't afford to take care of ourselves when we have to pay the bureaucracy. Compassion is absent, exploitation is rampant, and us ordinary Australians do bear the burden while our political class, they grow wealthier. This is not progress. This is actually what scholars call the refeudalisation of society. Our children are born into debt and mass immigration, the same policy tearing apart Europe, Britain and America, while it is the final tool to mask a broken system of debt, bureaucracy and growing control. And to think they now want to tax your spare bedroom, they call it underutilisation tax or housing efficiency tax. Can you imagine how the government bureaucrats must be salivating at all these new political commissars marching into your homes, inspecting your private property, throwing away any pretense of private property that may remain? There are lines that must be drawn. We no longer have governance. We no longer have leadership. We have but an administration with no real plan to deal with the struggles we face. Well, 80% of the jobs in this nation in the past 2 years have been taxpayer funded. And if you do work there, I do not blame you. It's bloody good money, but we as a nation cannot afford this. So here's the truth about mass immigration and population growth, because our voting here is based on population. The migrants tend to flock to the cities, and the establishment secures its voting base. North Queensland has lost its voice. What is the bastion of common sense in this nation, people who work the land, who live away from all the nonsense, they don't have representation any longer. Mass immigration is not done for compassion. It is cruel. It is cruel to the immigrants who come here for the right reason. And it is cruel to the Australians who can no longer provide for their own. This is why we marched. And we must continue to stand, because the pattern is clear. Once ancient and proud nations, they are now weakened, divided, and collapsing. Britain and France are talking about IMF bailouts. They are bankrupt. They are failing. But as I said on the day, do not turn your anger or frustration to the migrants, because this fault lies purely with government policy, government messaging, and government priorities, and a government that wants you silent. But we will not be silent, as we showed. The government's only duty is to put Australians first. And here, this would be quite controversial to do with the political establishment, but our history throughout the centuries shows there is no lasting freedom in a fragmented, divided, multicultural society where every group demands special treatment and politics bends to identity instead of truth. This is the most insidious lie that our nation has been sold. The regulation on speech, the imagined hate speech as a result, and we've even been bluntly told there is no free speech in a multicultural society. Multi-ethnic, yes, sure, but multicultural, no. There must be unifying foundations amongst the people. Our founders knew this. Robert Menzies said, "I don't want to see reproduced in Australia the kind of problem they have in South Africa, or in America, or increasingly Britain." And just look at what is happening. There is no respect for common sense policies. We are a mess. Europe, Britain, America is a mess, and it's only becoming worse. Only a united people, sharing values, beliefs, culture, can stand strong against adversity, both domestic and foreign, of which we very likely face both. So this means together we must defend and preserve our culture, our unifying culture, the Australian culture. And we will not stand by and let Australia face the same fate as Britain and Europe. We have a head start on them. We're at least talking about it. We're at least standing now. We're at least working to prevent this. So we do call for an Australian government that puts Australians first. We call for policies that protect this land for our children and grandchildren. No race-based hospitals, no race-based parks, no race-based voting, but one law, one standard for all Australians, as we decided during the referendum. And above all, we call for an immigration policy that strengthens the country, preserves our culture, and respects the people already here. And I finish by saying, our fathers from every nation fought to defend this democratic system. They fought in the trenches so that we may fight at the ballot box. Thank you all.